Othello is a game of skill. Unlike chess, it only has two pieces, which are reversible, and depending on what you've chosen, either black or white or red and blue. And in this online version, which is also known as reversi in many circles, it takes, as the tagline says, moments to learn, but a lifetime to master. So, it can be rather hard to beat some of the more difficult opponents, and especially the computer AI, which even on medium is very, very, very difficult and plays very different from master online players. So it's very unusual. Now, I first came across Othello/reversi in a game called Battle Panel, in a mini-game in a game called Guys. Now, in this variation, it was much more a live action, so you had the two characters and the reversi layout, and you had to put the blocks on the opposite side of the colour. Much like you do in reversi to take the other piece, you say you're white. You can only jump across black pieces in horizontal, vertical and diagonals, and every piece that connects to where you place gets flipped over to your colour. And the aim is to have the most of your colour at the end of the battle. Now, in the battle squares, it was live, and, you didn't have to take turns. It was just frantic bashing about and putting the squares down. I found this very enjoyable. And in this minigame, there were many different layouts to the classic beginning layout in reversi as well. So, in Othello, you have the 4 in the middle, and that is it. And this is a very much traditional, professional, yellow rated online game for serious reversi players. But I would say that it wouldn't be too far amiss to put some other board layouts, much like the same developer has in Ket, or at least the publisher has in Ket, where there's different board layouts to begin in different ways. And I could see that in reversi, perhaps not on the rated game system, but for casual play, it might be a bit fun to have some of the other reversi layouts as something that may be developed in the future. But as it stands at present, it's very professional, the 4 in the middle, beginning, and, everyone knows their strategy from there. So, from that, let's go on to talk about the different ways that you can interact with the game. Now, the layouts are very traditional. They look exactly like the board and the professional pieces, with the pieces even being modelled to show that it's like black on one side and white on the other as it flips over. Now, I always preferred the pebble looking layouts, which you had originally on the Windows XP system, I believe, which was obviously free on the MSN Gaming Zone, but they removed that for Windows 7, so I did play a lot of reversi on the Xbox, I keep saying Xbox, the Windows XP system, and that is how I mostly learnt the game, from playing online games there. And I was playing that at the expert level, and I was beating so many opponents that I ended up trying to spell out my name. Now, J was always the hardest one to get. Now, playing this against the computer, somehow I managed to get J, which I'd always missed. But, to write out Jason, I have lost some of the files, so I can't show you them all, but even my Steam username is my O that I made in reversi through the MSN Gaming Zone, because I've always enjoyed the game so much, and it's a really fun game, and fun to play on your casual downtime. Now, there are a few downsides to the current way that the game operates, and mostly that is just because it's a brand new game, and there are hardly any people on the servers. Give it a Steam sale, I'd say that there would be more people coming on to play. And once the board starts to fill out more, I can then play in the way I like to play, because I like to play against a live opponent in a live match and not have the 7 days delays. But, saying that, without having the 7-day turn delay that there currently is, then you wouldn't really be able to get any games. So the fact that this 7-day system exists is good, because you can create a game, and then if you set Steam notifications, you'll get notified when someone takes their turn, and then you can try and catch them online and play against them. But if you don't have notifications turned on, which you don't have to, then You just log in next time at your convenience, take your turn, and then wait the next turn. And that also avoids the whole issue of where on the MSN Gaming Zone you used to have someone just sit there all day not taking their turn because they're losing, and they want you to log off and turn off your computer first. And yes, I was stubborn enough to sit there and wait for them to take their turn and leave my computer on all night until they left, just because I wasn't going to lose. I wasn't going to affect my rating because they weren't going to win, they didn't want to take their turn because they weren't going to win. And with the 7-day system, surely they're going to take their turn. But if they don't, then you win after 7 days. There are time limits. You can set it down to 30 seconds. You can set it down to a minute. You can have, normal sort of things. You can give half an hour leniency if you want, but it's entirely up to you what you set up in the rating system in creating the match. And that's the good thing about it. You can have quick games, or you can set it so you can take as long as you want. I prefer quick games, but that again needs the server to build up. But once the server does build up for more people buying the game, and that's another reason to advertise it, then I'd get more live opponents, and I'd enjoy playing against live opponents, because this computer is far too good. I mean, it's a very, very, very expert level, and because I haven't played in 5 years, 6 years since I upgraded to Windows 7 and lost reversi, my skills have gone down a bit, so it's good to catch up on it and get back into it. And for that, I need more opponents. And I did used to have a system for beating the way the computer plays. That was always the one that I really struggled with, but it was like 25% win chance. And playing against the computer, I can see that maybe I need to be black to be able to beat the computer. So, it does determine, because one side goes first, the other side doesn't. And with that particular playstyle, it seems like you have to be that colour to counter it. So, I'd have to work on mastering my technique to beat that playstyle again. But with the way people play online, again, it's very, very different. So to play against computer players and normal people, very different strategies required, and that's where the live time to master part comes in, because everyone plays differently. So there are different techniques that you will come across, and you might have 90% of the players down, and then someone comes along with a whole new technique of playing that beats yours, and you'll have to master beating that strategy. So it's a very fun game and very fast paced, and there's very little rules, so that's how it's easy to pick up. You just basically flip the other sides of the cut, and then, you flip all your pieces between. And there is one more variety which I've come across, which was on a TV show called Sliders, where they had sort of field rugby, basketball sort of thing. So there's a basketball court, but, they carried the ball around like a rugby ball, passed it between them, not dribbling. I don't think they dribbled it like a basketball, and they had to intercept it between each other. But whilst they were throwing the ball about, they had to answer science questions, and I'd probably take away the science questions part and just have it so you pass the ball between them and play reversi on a giant board on a basketball court, and that would be really fun. If you could do that in real life, it's like, your squares that light up and flip around, and you just got to pass between you, and it's like a team of 3 or a team of 4 against each other. And the strategy there would be quite good, because, if you've got the ball, you start in your corner, you've got the defence, and they've got to try and stop you getting to where you want to go, intercept the ball, and if they intercept, then they get a chance to go for that square. So there's definitely a lot of strategy that could be involved in that, but again, we're only talking about the regulation, Othello, reversi, and you'll notice that the game sort of confused itself as well. Like, the menu does say Othello, and it's Othello in Steam, and it did used to say reversi, but now, when you start up a match, it says reversi still, so there are still remnants of it being reversi, as well as Othello, and my thumbnail as well, I did pick the reversi one, because that's what it was at the time. They've at least now changed the menu to Othello. But, yeah, I think it's a very, very fun game, and definitely worth the money if you do enjoy Othello. And stay tuned for more board games, because we have got more Steam board games that we will be reviewing, including Cats, and even chess. So you can compare the variations to this. And I would like a bit more variety with the board as well, personally. Because, like I say, I prefer the pebble look on the stones, and the pebbles look nicer, they flip nicer. So pebble boards, the backing boards, you know, fair enough, regulation, it's good enough for me. It doesn't need anything special. I just want a bit more variety with the pieces, you know, because there are different pieces that you have online and in different games. And like I say, the MSN reversi, I like the layout on that. And perhaps even they could do the battle panel so that you have just pure squares that flip. So that might be good. Or, you know, colour up and light up in a line so it makes just a solid block of lines. That could be an interesting layers as well. Who knows? Perhaps they could even add the battle panel game itself. I doubt that that's going to happen because, you know, it's just a lot more coding than the standard reversi. But for changing the pieces, I would recommend giving some options. So yeah. And even there was one time where I've seen it in battle panel, they dropped the neutral pieces over time, and you could flip over them. But there was another variety that I saw online where the neutral pieces were just blockers that appeared over time. So, you know, between each move, some neutral pieces appeared on the board and blocked the game. Maybe that could be an interesting variety as well. That was always a very, very difficult one to get around, because if a neutral piece appeared where you wanted to go, you couldn't jump over it and turn it yours, although in battle panel you can. And then that just got in the way and made the game very, very difficult. So perhaps they could have a variety of both, you know. Do you want neutral pieces to appear? And do you want to be able to take them? So that if they do appear in your way, you get to pick them as your piece. And that would also add a lot more variety to strategy. For example, if you thought one way was safe because there wasn't the specific piece in where they needed to get to between your pieces and theirs, so there was a gap and they couldn't jump it, but suddenly there's a neutral piece there, and then there's a gap that they can take to take that and your pieces, then it makes it very difficult, doesn't it? So, yeah. Check out Reversi Othello for yourself, and I'd recommend buying it, especially if a Steam sale comes up, which will be coming soon. And that will encourage a lot more players, because there'll be a lot more players to play online. You'll get to play quick casual games as you like, which I do enjoy. It's what's missing in this. It's just more players. If there were more players, I could just boot up a casual game whenever I wanted, whenever I've got a few minutes, knock one out, which is what I want to do. What's missing? So, sorry for stuttering. Yeah, that's what's missing in the game presently. It's nothing to do with the gameplay. The gameplay is spot on. The mechanics are spot on. Everything is good. I just want more people. And so, yeah.